Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the presentation of the Master Bio-Pharmaceutical Sciences here at Leiden University. My name is Emily Ouwehand, and I'm one of the study advisors and program coordinators of the Master, and I'm today's moderator of the talk show. So before we begin, let me tell you something about the structure of today's presentation. First, we will start off with a small round of introductions. Then I will interview my colleagues, Professor Miranda van Eck, my colleague Monica Terhal, and one of our current students, Rebecca. Finally, we will open the floor to you to ask us all your questions during our live Q&A. And after the session, you can meet me and some of my colleagues from our institute at an online information market, and you can continue asking your questions. So be assured there's enough time for you to ask any question you'd like. So let's get started. Miranda, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Miranda van Eck. I'm the program director of the Master Program Bio-Pharmaceutical Sciences, which in short we call BPS because it's a very long name. As program director, I'm responsible for the organization and the quality of the education. I'm currently also Deputy Scientific Director of the Leiden Academic Center for Drug Research, also a long name, which we call in short LACDR. And that's actually the institute that provides the BPS program. In addition to program director, I'm also professor in cardiovascular and metabolic therapeutics at Leiden University, and I've been that already since 2012, but I have been here at the university much longer. I came to Leiden in 1990 and have studied biopharmaceutical sciences myself, so I'm also very proud that I'm now the program director. I did my PhD training at the Division of Biotherapeutics of the LACDR. And if I'm not teaching or doing research at the university, I enjoy my family life. And amongst other things, I also love traveling very much, although this, unfortunately, the past 2 years was a bit hampered due to the pandemic. But things are improving now, which is good.
Thanks so much, Miranda. And we also have a student with us, Rebecca. Rebecca, would you like to tell us something about yourself?
Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone. I'm Rebecca. I'm a second-year master student of Biopharmaceutical Sciences right now. Before this, I did the Bachelor Biopharmaceutical Sciences, so I'm doing quite the long run. I am a 6-year student now, so I'm going quite well. In my free time, I like to do some Netflixing and do some sports or do some creative stuff. And up until now, my favorite course of the master was the Regulation of Drug Safety, in which you discover a little bit more about the other side of regulation instead of only the research part. So I thought that was quite interesting.
Thanks so much. Hi, Monica. You're here with us today as well. Can you tell us something about yourself?
Yes, Emily, of course. Hello, my name is Monica Terhal. I'm also a study advisor and a program coordinator for the Master Biopharmaceutical Sciences. I've joined the team in November, and I really enjoy working with the students of our program. Before this, I worked in clinical research, and I was a policy advisor in healthcare after having studied medical biology in Utrecht. I have 2 daughters, and I live in Arnhem, but I was grown up near Leiden.
Thanks so much, you all. Let's dive in, shall we? Monica, can you tell us something about the master and the program in general, so our viewers get a good view of what it looks like?
Yes, of course, Emily. Well, first of all, at the Master Biopharmaceutical Sciences, we train students for a scientific career in drug research and development. This is done in our institute, in the Leiden Academic Center of Drug Research. In that institute, we have 4 divisions: the biotherapeutics divisions, drug discovery and safety, systems, pharmacology and pharmacy, and the metabolomic center. And these divisions house the different research groups where students go for their first major project in the first year of the master. They do this after an introduction course and after the start of the mandatory course Advanced Academic Skills and Career Orientation. And in this last course, we focus on soft skills and on your career after the master. Furthermore, also in the first year, you have to do a lecture series of your choice, and these lecture series are offered by one of the research groups. So this is your first year. And then we go to the second year. In the second year, a specialization is chosen. Students can choose between the specializations research, business studies, science, communication and society, education and industrial pharmacy. And the later two, so the education and industrial pharmacy, they are only open for Dutch people. You have to speak Dutch for that. And for industrial pharmacy, we can only have 2 students a year. Not everybody can do that. Of course, when you start with the master, information about the second year will be given on several occasions. And with every specialization has its own program. So in general, you can say that all these specializations consist of mandatory courses and a project or an internship. With the option to specialize not only in the field of research, we think that our master really does have something for everyone interested in the pharmaceutical field.
Thanks, Monica. That was very clear, I think. Miranda, why should students come here to do our master?
Good question. Well, what I can say is our program is a real research program. So you really should like doing research and drug research, of course. The combination of a major research project at LACDR or one of her partners and a minor research project, and then preferably at a research institute or a biotech company abroad, ensures really extensive on-the-job training in drug research. So when students come to us, they are really, you start basically working as a true researcher in a research group. So when we compare our program to similar programs from different universities focusing on drug development, you can see that the profile of each program is strongly determined by the research that takes place at the institute that actually provides the program. So also the research that's being performed at LACDR has an important impact on where you are trained in. So it's good for everybody watching after the program. Please have a look at the website of LACDR. So if you go to www.lacdr.nl, you can actually have more detailed information on the type of research that's being done in our institute. So to go back to our program, it's I think it's really distinguishes itself by the broad span of options provided to the students to tailor their program. So for example, you can choose from specializing in chem informatics to design new drug molecules, to state-of-the-art pharmacokinetic and dynamic modeling to design better dosing schemes for individual patients. And when you compare it to similar programs in the Netherlands, you see, for example, that pharmaceutical sciences at the Vrije University in Amsterdam, that's way more strongly analytical chemistry oriented, while drug innovation in Utrecht and medical and pharmaceutical drug innovation in Groningen are largely biomedically oriented, whereas we provide basically the whole span of options. So that's on the one hand. On the other hand, I also think it's unique that we allow both tracks that combine 2 or more completely different disciplines in drug research. For example, computational drug discovery and biotherapeutics, as well as highly specialized tracks. So focus on, for example, a specific disease, such as innovative biotherapeutics for cardiovascular disease. An additional strong asset of the Master BPS program is that it distinguishes itself nationally and internationally from other pharmaceutical programs by the fact that on top of this really thorough drug research training, students can specialize further in, for example, business studies, science communication and society, and education, like Monica already mentioned, and as you can also see on this slide. And of course, I'm proud to mention that also our students greatly value our program. If you think on a scale from 1 to 5, 75% of our students actually rank the program with a 4 or higher, indicating that they are really satisfied about the program. So I would say enough reason to choose for biopharmaceutical sciences in Leiden.
I think you did give enough reasons. I just want to mention real quickly that our slides show 3 divisions, and we mentioned earlier that we have 4, and this is a change that we are going to make for next year. So if you're paying attention and you saw this, know that next year we have 4 divisions and this year we have 3. That's a minor thing. Rebecca, I just want to ask you the same question. Why did you choose our master?
Well, it's a good question. As I mentioned before, I already did the Bachelor Biopharmaceutical Sciences. So I already got to know the institute, and I kind of know the field of research a little bit. So I know what I'm interested in, and I kind of know what is possible in the future. So I thought what would be a good choice to continue my study career with this master. I also really like the fact that you can really build your own program. So as you saw in one of the slides earlier, you can choose your own courses, you can choose your own specialization, you can really see what interests you and what would make your program the best for you. So I thought it was a great combination that influenced my decision to stay in Leiden.
Yeah, thank you so much. Miranda, as you already mentioned, a large part of the master consists of internships or projects, as we call them. Could you tell us more about those internships, research projects that students can expect when choosing this program?
Yes, when students start with their program, they first start with an introduction course. And during this introduction course, students actually learn how to write a research proposal in preparation for their first research project. And that first research project is actually a major part of the rest of the first year of the program. It's a 9-month research project at one of the divisions of LACDR. And then in the second year of the program, students will do their specialization internships. This can, for example, be a second research internship for students opting for the research specialization, and which is actually by far our biggest specialization. Or an internship for one of the other specializations, such as, for example, a business studies internship. During this second internship, students usually go to an academic research institute, a university medical center, like, for example, the Leiden University Medical Center here in Leiden, or a biotech company. And in this respect, I think it's also good to mention that our faculty is really ideally located in the Leiden Bioscience Park. And it's a big innovation district with, well, I think it's already over 150 life sciences and health companies. And it goes really from very small startup companies to big multinational drug companies. And students can do their internship at these companies. Many of our students also go abroad for the second internship, and we also highly stimulate this, because we think if you are a drug researcher, you really have to act on a worldwide scale. And of course, it's very nice to go abroad as well. In the current situation, this is a bit more difficult, but we are very happy to see that the opportunities are increasing again for our students.
Yeah, so many options to choose from. And Monica, can you tell us something about the courses? Can students choose them themselves, and is going abroad an option if you want to do a course?
Yes, partly they can. As I said already before, all students have to do one lecture series, one mandatory lecture series in the first year, offered by the master, offered by the research groups themselves. For the next year, we have, for example, 16 different lecture series to choose from. So the students can really pick up something they are interested in. And then in the second year, it depends on the specialization the student chooses. For the research specialization, the student has an elective part of courses of 15 ECTC, which he or she can fill in with courses with just a few boundaries. Some students do lecture series from the Master BPS, so from the Master Bio-Pharmaceutical Sciences. Others go to other masters within our faculty. You can choose courses, and a part of the students do courses outside of the university. Of course, you have to get approval for certain courses before you can enroll. And even there are students who take courses abroad. And concerning the other specializations, there are more mandatory courses which the students have to follow. And these are at the Leiden University.
Okay, thank you. Rebecca, can you tell us something about the project you did?
Yes, sure. Before I did my first research internship at the Division of Systems Biomedicine and Pharmacology. And the title of my project was Developing a Method for Tissue Homogenization and Cytokine Detection in AD rat organs, in which AD stands for Alzheimer's disease. This was a project in which I tried to homogenize tissue of rats to check if we could see certain profiles of cytokines and other proteins. To see if we could get a pattern to see if we could identify the disease of Alzheimer's a little bit earlier on in humans, because we cannot check their brains until they are diseased. So we checked that, which was a really interesting internship because no one really did that before, so it was quite new. Right now, I started a week ago with another research project. And I'm doing it at the Dutch Medicine Agency. I'm trying to see the effect of professional communication. Does it have an effect on prescribing of drugs? Will it be deprescribed? Will they check the dosing? Will it be taken off the market? So really checking if healthcare professionals take into account the warnings that they get. So that's a little bit different. It's really about more the regulation of drugs, but still it's an interesting part of the field. And I also think it's interesting to see that you can combine the hardcore wet lab experiments and research with also a bit more of the paper research. So that's very interesting to me.
Yeah, thank you so much. I now can see why you love the course Regulation of Drug Safety. It's right up your alley.
Yeah.
Miranda, every year students come from a different bachelor in our program. Based on your experience, what do you see students struggling with during the program? And what do you think could be the challenge for those students? And what do you recommend those students? Can they prepare themselves better when they want to join the program? Miranda, are you still there?
Sorry, I was still muted. My apologies.
That's okay. It happens. It still happens.
Yeah, it still happens, still after 2 years. Well, so really good questions. What do students struggle with? And well, as already indicated, our program is a true research program, and the standards for the students during their research projects is really high. Therefore, in our bachelor program, we already train students in performing research independently in the area of innovative drug research. So students from other bachelor programs may sometimes not be as well prepared and may struggle with these big research components of our master program, especially in the beginning of the master, because they have to start so quickly with this 9-month research project. So because we find it important that students are actually successful in our program, we only accept students into our program that have sufficient hands-on experience in a relevant research field. So really in this innovative drug research area. And it's our experience that this increases the chances of success in our program significantly and really avoids disappointment. So if you think, for example, students with a foreign bachelor program in pharmacy without research experience in innovative drug design or development, they are in general not admissible to our program because they really lack this innovative drug research component in their programs. So yeah, if how you say, how can students prepare for their programs? Really, if you if you have the opportunity within your program, try to find at a good research institution, a proper research project in the field of innovative drug research. And another aspect that I think needs to mention is that the great thing of our program is that students have a lot of opportunities to tailor their own program. But this also means that we also expect from students that they are very much able to make self-directed or autonomous conscious choices for their own professional development. So of course, you as study advisors guide the students in that, but we also really expect quite some independence and initiative of the students. And this might be a bit different than what quite some students have been used to during their bachelor programs. So it's really, you need to change your mind if you come from a fixed program and step into our program.
Yeah, I think you make a good point. So research experience is a really hard requirement for joining our master. Yeah. Can you tell us something about the career opportunities for our students? In your experience, where do they end up?
So that's also a question for me.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, please.
Yeah, just to be sure. Well, yeah, our master program is a true research master program, and quite a number of students also follow the scientific path and do a PhD after they finish our master. So yeah, whichever specialization they choose actually in their second year, a PhD is always possible, as we provide the students already in this first year. There's extensive research training during their first research project one. We also see a lot of students working in pharmaceutical companies, and some of them staying at a company, actually stayed at a company where they did their second project or their internship for one of the other specializations. So in general, yeah, students are doing very well, and you find them everywhere in the pharmaceutical fields. And well, I'm still very happy that our students still quite easily find a job after finishing their program.
Yeah, that's really good news indeed. Thank you so much for that answer, and thank you for all of your answers. This was the interview part of the talk show, and now I want to continue to the Q&A. So the live Q&A, we have half an hour for that, so that's great. I will now go to the questions our colleague has set up for us, or she will set up for us. So she's typing, and we're just waiting for the first questions to come in. So if you have a question, you can ask us, and if you want to wait for the information market, we'll start with that at 3 o'clock. I don't see any questions at the moment.
I do see a question actually, Emily. I would like to learn more about. Can you see them as well?
No, I can't.
I see here somebody asking, I would like to learn more about preclinical studies. Which faculty should I pick? Biotherapeutics or drug discovery and safety? Preclinical study is basically every research division actually is strongly involved in preclinical work. So it doesn't actually varies or it doesn't actually matter which one you pick. So you really, as I indicated, look at our website and check whether what fits your interests best.
Thank you, Miranda. I see now that I can't read them because they are dark. I have to click on the thing. It's a technical issue, but I'm trying. The next question is, how does the application process for the master program work? Maybe Monica can answer that question.
Yes, I can say something about it, and maybe Miranda can add some information to it, since I've only started in November. For the master BPS, you really have to submit your request. You have to start with the submission of the request for the RP1. This is your first big major project, because we after that have to start placing the new students at the divisions. And you can find all kinds of information on that on our website. Of course, you have to be an applicant for the general part 2, but this RP1 application is very important, because we need to know on time how many students want to start. This is the first thing of the master. In this application, you can, of course, indicate your preference of placement. But after that, we have to see what is possible. And maybe, Miranda, you can add some more information about that.
Yeah, I think it's good to mention that there are different procedures. So we don't know who asked this question. So it depends on if you did a Bachelor Biopharmaceutical Sciences or whether you did another bachelor program. All the information, as you mentioned, is on the website of our program at Leiden University website. If you are from another bachelor program, yeah, you should go through the general application process, and then your application actually is forwarded to the admission committee. And for your application, you also have to write a letter in which you state basically your background information on your previous bachelor program, what research you did during that program, and how that actually fits the research being done at LACDR, which is important for our program. And that again ties to what you indicated, Monica, the placement, the RP1 placement procedure. So when we receive the applications, we actually try to fit best the background of the students to the division where that type of research is being done, to enable the students basically to have a swift start of their program. So that, yeah, those are important aspects. So for the students with other bachelor programs, the admission committee basically tries to find that match. And then for the Bachelor Biopharmaceutical Sciences students, they of course are standard admissible to our program, and they need to apply for the research project one directly, and there's a form on the website for that as well. It's good to mention, if you want to start in September this year, then the latest application for this RP1 is on June 15, and the same accounts for the ER students. That's also, they have a deadline of June 15. If you are non-ER students, the deadline is earlier. It's also on the website, I think April 1st, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. And how do the students choose a subject for their RP1, Miranda? Because you mentioned they have to apply before that deadline of June 15. Where can they find the information about the projects or the divisions?
Yeah, we don't supply a project because research is continuously going on. If you would think of a research project now, it's likely that it has changed in September. So students really go work on actual research projects that are in the forefront of drug research. So we can only link them to divisions and PI groups. So PI stands for principal investigators, and these are the main researchers basically supervising a research group. And that's why I mentioned in the first part of the talk show, please have a look at the website of LACDR. So again, that's www.lacdr.nl. If you go to that website, you find the research divisions of LACDR. And if you click on these research divisions, you can actually find the different research groups and what they're working on. So yeah, you can state in your motivation letter basically what type of research that you're interested in and how that fits with your previous education. And of course, if you're interested in more things, you can of course indicate more things that you're interested in.
Yeah, thank you. And I just want to mention that for the bachelor students of biopharmaceutical sciences, we also have a major information meeting in May that they can join. So that's only for the bachelor students, but if you're watching, go to the schedule of the third year and you will find it there. A question maybe for Monica. Miranda also mentioned it in her interview, but can you tell us something about the options for the RP2 in Leiden specifically, other than the hospital, the LUMC? Where can students go?
Well, I think there are lots of options. Of course, you can start in Leiden because the Bioscience Park Leiden has a lot of pharmaceutical startups or big companies like Janssen, where students can do their RP2. But we should not only focus on biopharmaceutical companies, because you can also do your RP2 at an academic hospital, or you can do your RP2 at another institute like you have in the Netherlands, TNO or the RIVM. Or of course you can go abroad, and there are also plenty of students who start to make connections during their RP1 with their supervisor, with other people at the department, at their divisions. They like a certain subject, and I continue from there to search, where would be the group where I can do by RP2. Of course, students can always talk to the study advisors, get advice. They can go also, if they want to go abroad, they can go to the international office. So in general, conclusion, there are lots of options and opportunities, but of course, this takes some proactivity also from the students.
Yes, thank you. Let me see. How are internships assigned to students? Are they assigned by the LACDR, or do students need to contact the research groups themselves to see if there are any positions available? So that's again about the admission program or the procedure. So maybe once again, Monica, just to be clear how we do it.
Well, I think Miranda has said already a lot about this. You can state your preferences when you apply for the RP1, so the start of your master, with a motivation letter and with the preference for the division you want to be in. But of course, as Miranda also stated, research is going on. It's a continuous process. There are no strict programs on our website, but the supervisors of the division will have a look at all the students who applied, and from there on we see which students matches the best to which department and which project. And of course, this is a process. This takes a couple of weeks. At the end, you will be sent an email from the supervisor who really wants to supervise you with a project. You get a proposal. Of course, you can always reject it, but then we are not sure that we can place you at another place because we have plenty of students, and it is a process through, which is a bit of matchmaking. I think the most important thing is that you are motivated to start with a research master, because 9 months of research in the beginning, it's a big commitment, we think. So, and you must be aware that it's a full-time job.
Thank you.
Maybe it's also nice if Rebecca can tell something about her experience with the placement procedure.
That's a really good question. Please, Rebecca, do. And you're on mute at the moment, so.
Yeah, okay. Now yeah, so when you of course write a letter in which you state what you would find interesting, what you've already done. So maybe people can already place you a little bit on what you would like to learn some more or what you've already performed previously. Also, there's a little bit kind of questionnaire, I think, at least it was in my year, in which you can state your first three preferences, in which you can state, I would like to go to that division, and each division has research groups. So, for example, for systems biomedicine and pharmacology, in which I did my RP1, you got a research group that really focuses on Alzheimer's, but also on computational work. So for each division, you can choose that, and then you can choose up to 3 to 5 divisions and research group, I think. And with that, they really try to place you as well as possible. So I got placed in my second choice. So I was quite happy with that, because I know there are like 100 other students that would try to get the place they want. So if it's in your top 3, it's quite nice. So I was happy, and you get the notice that you are in the division quite fast. I got it in the end of August, beginning of September. So you know what you're up against. So that's quite nice.
Yes. And we don't only ask for your preferences for the PI groups, we also ask about what kind of research you want to do, more experimental, more computational, that kind of stuff. So we can really match you with the right PI group. Thank you, Rebecca. We had another question about the division of drug discovery and safety, because at the website it states that it concentrates on the disease cancer, but does it concentrate also on other diseases in that division, or would you have to go to other divisions? Miranda or Monica, maybe a question for you?
There are two PI groups are actually focusing on cancer. So, but a lot of the division is also working on drug safety. Actually, a really big group in that division is currently working on drug safety more in general. So not directly only related to cancer. Yeah, if you're thinking about another disease, for example, cardiovascular disease, then I would advise you to go to biotherapeutics and not to DDS. So yeah, really look at the different PI groups, what they are doing on our website, because in DDS it's not only about cancer. It's if you're interested in computational drug discovery, yeah, of course you can do that for a broad range of diseases, so not only cancer. And there's also PI working on stem cells. Well, of course, that's also stem cell treatment is being performed in a broad array of diseases currently.
Yeah. We also have a question, and we get these a lot, but in general, so students ask us about their personal situation, so their personal background. And this student asks about the requirements for the master, because it states that you have to have 16 ECTS of final research assignment, and his or her bachelor's only offers a 12 EC final internship. And does that mean that he or she is not eligible, or should this student contact the admissions office of the master? So maybe Miranda, you can say something in general about these kinds of situations.
Yeah, of course. Well, it's very, very good that this candidate already looked at the website. It's officially the 16 EC is an official requirement, so which means that you're officially not admissible to our program. The same accounts, you need 150 EC in courses in the area of biopharmaceutical sciences. If you have another bachelor program, then the bachelor program biopharmaceutical sciences. However, if you have this 12 EC project, and perhaps, I don't know whether you did an additional summer internship, for example, somewhere else at a research institute or a faculty of science, please also bring that forward in your application procedure. I must say you really need to apply for our program. Then when you have done your application, the admission committee will start looking at your background. We can't provide general information just via email, but officially 16 EC is a requirement. If you have additional experience, and I don't mean then practical courses, because the practical courses, of course, that students in our biopharmaceutical sciences bachelor program also follow these. But if you have another small research internship in addition to this 12 EC research internship, please put it forward. Or perhaps if you still have the opportunity to do in summer or whatever, another small research institute research project that might help your application.
Yeah, thank you. How many places for international students do we have? Monica, can you tell something about that?
Well, there is no limited amount for international students, but we have, and we also don't have a limited amount for students in general. But of course, if suddenly 200 students want to do the Master Bio-Pharmaceutical, we will have a problem, I think. So I would really suggest you to just send your application and see, because the application really depends on what your background is and what you have done in a master. And from there on, we look if you can be admitted.
Yeah, thanks. There's a student who has already sent in his or her application 6 weeks ago and hasn't heard anything back yet. Miranda, the procedure is a bit bigger than only our part of the story. When can she or he expect a answer?
Yeah, no, well, I don't know. You can, yeah, I would say, suggest to email the admission email box. In general, it should be around 6 weeks. We at our program, it always takes some time before we get from the central office, get actually the applications at our committee. Then as a committee, we try to look at it as soon as possible. But of course, we have a lot of applications, so that's why there's quite a period before you get to know something. If it's now around 6 weeks, it's likely that you will get your results soon. And if not, just email to the admission mailbox, and we'll let you know as soon as possible.
Yes. This person would like to learn more about preclinical studies, and he or she is asking which division to choose from. Is it biotherapeutics or maybe more drug discovery and safety? Miranda, preclinical studies.
Yeah, that's the first question that we answered when you couldn't read the questions yet.
So sorry.
But yeah, preclinical research is basically done at the whole LACDR. So again, have a look at the different research groups and what fits your interest best.
My apologies. I see now that the questions have been uploaded again, but now in color, so I can indeed read them. Let me see. Is this master a good fit if you are a master pharmacy student, did his research project, and is now very interested in becoming a researcher more so than being a pharmacist? Or would this master not have an added benefit compared to just doing the pharmacy master? So comparing pharmacy master and this master. Rebecca is nodding her head.
Yeah,
Would you like
well,
to answer?
yeah. I think if you're really interested in research, a master in pharmacy continuation may not be the right fit. Of course, in pharmacy, if you've done a master, you can also perform research, but it will not be as much in your future as you would be having done a real research master. So if you really feel that you will be more interested in research, I think a switch may be a good choice. Because if you do the pharmacy master in Leiden, you will be doing it for 3 years. And it's mostly about patient care and working in the public pharmacy or in the hospital pharmacy. So that may be a little bit different than doing research. So I think it would be a good consideration. So I think it also would be a benefit for you.
Okay. And Monica, we just had a question about the international students and if there was a limit. Can you tell us something about the ratio between Dutch and international students within the master?
Well, of course, every year it's a bit different, but I think this is just a guess, but I would say maybe from 150 students every year, maybe about 20 would be international. What do you think, Emily?
It's also a bit varies per year. It's our biggest low was only 6% international students, but normally it's around 15, 17%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We have new questions. With a bachelor in chemistry, is it difficult for someone to be accepted? So again, quite a personal situation. If you have a bachelor in chemistry, Miranda, what are the chances?
It's interesting to see what type of minor you did. If you did a minor more in drug research area, that would increase your chances. I would anyway advise you to apply. Then the admission committee will have a look. Also, your bachelor research project, if it's more in the area of drug research, it would be really helpful. We do, of course, have PI groups that are more directed towards drug research and more chemically oriented drug research, looking at small molecules, designing small molecules. So that might be a fit, but it's just hypothetical because I can't have a look now, of course, at the actual program that you did. Did you do any additional minor courses, and what was your bachelor research project about? So.
Yeah. So again, it's very difficult to answer all the personal situation questions because we really need to think and look at the application. Maybe something about the combination of specializations, Monica, because you can do this within our master, and how can you do this? So if you want to combine the specialization research and business studies, for example.
Yes, of course, you can do that. Everybody does for the first year the same, yeah. They all have a big same research project. And then the second year you can choose for the research and you can choose for the business. This will mean that you do both specializations. There are certain things which overlap, and these are the elective courses. So in general, if you do both combinations, your studies, your masters will be 2.5 years instead of 2 years.
Yeah. Yes. And for the business specialization, are there any requirements for the students, or what do you look for when in students who want to do the specialization?
No, there are no any requirements. I think if you like to go to the business specialization side, you should be interested in the management, the financial part of research of, for example, a small startup company, how you manage preclinical research. So I think also you can find more information on that on our site. But in general, no, there are no restrictions.
No. And is it possible to do a research project at the Leiden Institute of Chemistry? Miranda,
yes.
or Monica?
The answer is yes.
The answer is yes.
Even in the RP1, because our divisions, they do have how do you call it? Help me.
Strong collaboration
yes.
is in place between LACDR and the Institute of Chemistry. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's possible too. Maybe because we don't have a lot of time left, because I know we have to stop at 14:50. So we weren't able to answer all the questions. but we are available again in the info market online. So if you have a question that wasn't answered now, you can come there, and I will be there, and some of my colleagues from the divisions will be there as well. So you can ask really good questions to the teachers. Maybe to round up, and I want to thank you for being here, Monica, Rebecca, and Miranda. I hope we gave a good overview of our program, and let everybody know how much fun our master is, and welcome everyone in September who wants to join us. So thanks, and until the next time.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.